evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines, His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince will attend a reception ceremony tomorrow, Wednesday, organised by the Kuwait Sea Sports Club. The Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development voices pride over naming His Highness the Emir as a humanitarian leader by the United Nations. A car bomb in Baghdad kills 9 people and wounds 20 others. And Pakistani lawmakers hold emergency session over political crisis in the country. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received at his US residence the National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al Ghanem, who briefed His Highness on the outcome of his official visit to the Swiss Confederacy. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Truong Tan Sang, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of congratulations to His Excellency the President of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Truong Tan Sang, on the occasion of his country's National Day. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mbarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah received this morning at his Sif Palace Diwan Chairman of the Capital Market Authority, Dr. Naif Falah Al Hajraf. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah will attend a reception ceremony tomorrow, Wednesday, at 10:30 a.m. at Bayan Palace. This ceremony will be held for members of the voyage marking the 26th diving anniversary, organised by the Kuwait Sea Sports Club from August 14th to the 21st, 2014. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mbarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, met today at Sif Palace in the presence of the Minister of Information and Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Sheikh Salman Sabah Al Salam Al Mahmoud Sabah, with Kuwaiti well-known actors and actresses Hayat Al Fahd, Saad Abdullah and Tariq Al Ali. His Highness the Prime Minister stressed on the importance of art and how it contributes to society building and helps enhance national unity, and underlined the government's support to artists who play an important role in society. For their part, Hayat Al Fahd, Saad Abdullah and Tariq Al Ali expressed appreciation for His Highness the Prime Minister's support to Kuwaiti arts, affirming their commitment to relevant laws. Later, His Highness the Prime Minister received a telephone call from renowned Kuwaiti actor Abdul Hussein Abdul Rida, who voiced appreciation for His Highness the Prime Minister over his continued support for actors. The Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, or KFAD, voiced pride over naming His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah as a humanitarian leader and proclaiming Kuwait as an international humanitarian centre. The fund said in a report that the anticipated naming ceremony to be held at the UN's headquarters in New York on September 9th is a sign of Kuwait's significant international standing and its role in finding solutions for world problems. The report underlined the keenness of His Highness the Emir to help combat poverty and starvation through His Highness's initiative to establish the Decent Life Fund in Muslim countries, as well as donating $100 million to support basic food items for the needy in a swift manner. The fund also emphasised that the humanitarian gestures and directives of His Highness the Emir collectively contributed in improving the quality of life for many people, as well as providing job opportunities to help limit poverty and starvation. Residents of Baghdad's southwestern neighbourhoods today assessed the damage caused by car bombs late last night. Police said a car bomb went off in the Baghdad's commercial district of Baya, killing 9 people and wounding 20 others. Minutes later, another car bomb exploded near a restaurant in the Amil neighbourhood, killing 7 and injuring 16. Meanwhile, a video was released today showing Iraqi government forces and militias in control of the town of Amirli after ending a siege by the IS militant group. The footage was filmed a day after Iraqi forces backed by militias and US airstrikes broke the 2-month siege of the town, where around 15,000 Turkmen were stranded. Renewed fighting between rebels and government forces is being reported in the Syrian Golan Heights, where 44 UN peacekeepers were abducted last week. Activists said heavy clashes were raging around the Qanaitra crossing, which rebels seized on Wednesday. The whereabouts of the peacekeepers from Fiji is unclear, but it's thought they are being held by an Al-Qaeda-affiliated group, Al-Nusra Front. Al-Nusra says they are safe, and so far no demands appear to have been made. Iran's foreign minister said he is committed to making progress in talks over Iran's nuclear program after meeting European Union officials in Brussels yesterday. Mohammad Javad Zarif expressed optimism that an agreement on the Iranian nuclear issue will be reached after meeting the President of the European Council, Herman Van Rompuy, and the EU's Foreign Policy Chief, Catherine Ashton. However, Zarif accused the United States of impeding the process by imposing new sanctions on Tehran. Last November, world powers and Iran reached an interim deal over the nuclear program, which called for Iran to limit its uranium enrichment in exchange for an easing of some economic sanctions. Both sides are now negotiating a final deal. Chancellor Angela Merkel reiterated that Germany and the rest of the EU would continue seeking a political solution to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Addressing German lawmakers in the parliament, Merkel also said a quick ceasefire and the securing of the borders between the two countries were the top priority for the EU. Merkel also told German lawmakers that arming Kurdish fighters battling extremists in Iraq wasn't an easy decision, but in her country's interest. The government decided on Sunday to deliver rifles, tank-busting weapons and armoured vehicles to forces fighting the IS group, breaking with Germany's previous reluctance to send weapons into conflicts. Russia denounced Ukraine's move to join NATO today and said it would review its military strategy ahead of a meeting of NATO alliance leaders in Wales later this week. The European Union is also expected to meet this week to discuss imposing further sanctions on Russia for its involvement in the Ukraine crisis. It comes following another attempt by representatives of Ukraine, Russia and pro-Russian rebels to reach an accord yesterday in Minsk. Our reporter Badriya Saleh brings us the story.
Italian Foreign Minister Federica Morini says the European Union will decide on a package of new sanctions against Russia by Friday. Morini, who will be the bloc's next foreign policy chief, said the European Commission will present a strengthened package of sanctions against Russia by Wednesday over its military invasion of Ukraine.
I think things on the ground are getting more and more dramatic. We speak about an aggression. And I think that we need to respond in the strongest possible way to that, in order to make sure that, as Elmar said, pressure is put in order to find a political solution. Sanctions are part of a strategy, of a political strategy.
Morini declined to give details of the sanctions package, but said they would target Russia in 4 sectors, including defense, dual-use goods, and finance. Meanwhile, a top Russian official says Russia will alter its military strategy as a result of the Ukraine crisis and NATO's presence in Eastern Europe, adding that the deteriorating relations with the U.S. and NATO will be reflected in the updated strategy. It comes as NATO announced yesterday that it would boost its presence in Eastern Europe to protect its members. Moreover, U.S. President Barack Obama leaves today for a 4-day European trip meant to reassure NATO allies and send a stern message to Russia over the crisis in Ukraine. Obama will meet with the heads of all 3 Baltic nations, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. One focus of the talks will be to increase the readiness of U.S. forces in Eastern Europe through increased troop rotations and joint training exercises. The 3 ex-Soviet countries fear they may emerge as the next geopolitical flashpoint after Ukraine in a confrontation that could test their Western ties. The United Nations Refugee Agency UNHCR says the number of people displaced in Ukraine by fighting nearly doubled in the past month to at least 260,000, and more are fleeing amid fears of mass displacement.
Pakistan's lawmakers held an emergency session today over the political crisis shaking the country as thousands of anti-government protesters remained camped out in front of the Parliament building, demanding that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif resigns. Thousands of protesters who broke through a fence surrounding the Parliament are camped out on the lawn in front of the building and took over Constitution Avenue, which runs past the country's main institutions of power, including the Supreme Court and the Prime Minister's office. The session of both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate, is an attempt to rally support behind the Prime Minister, who is facing the biggest threat to his tenure since he took office a little more than a year ago. The protest turned violent this weekend when clashes between the demonstrators and police left 3 people dead and hundreds injured. China warned against outside interference on Hong Kong's democratic reform issue today and defended anti-monopoly investigations on foreign companies as fair and transparent. China is trying to block an influential Westminster committee from carrying out an inquiry into the ongoing tensions in Hong Kong. In a strongly worded letter, the Chinese Foreign Affairs Committee accuses its British counterpart of carrying out a highly inappropriate act which constitutes interference in China's internal affairs. It emerged that thousands of pro-democracy activists in Hong Kong protest at Chinese government moves, which they say will limit democratic elections in the territory. Kuwait Stock Exchange indices closed collectively in the green zone today as the price index added 22.5 points to close at 7,444.94 points. Meanwhile, the weighted index gained 1.67 points to close at 491.98 points, while the KSX 15 increased by 0.31% to end at 1,200 points. As for market figures, today's session saw the ceiling of 5,176 spot transactions worth 24.08 million Kuwaiti dinars, compared with 5,045 worth 20.33 million Kuwaiti dinars in the previous session, with some 239.21 million shares changing hands. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, hear the headlines once again. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince will attend a reception ceremony tomorrow, Wednesday, organised by the Kuwait Sea Sports Club. The Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development voices pride over naming His Highness the Emir as a humanitarian leader by the United Nations. A car bomb in Baghdad kills 9 people and wounds 20 others. And Pakistani lawmakers hold emergency session over the political crisis in the country. Thank you for joining us. Have a good evening.